This episode of Smirking Gun Reviews is brought to you by brand new Hydra Fish Pills. If you want all the powers of our undersea brethren, try Hydra Fish Pills. We swear to God it's not going to put you in a cocoon and possibly kill you and or give you superpowers. Ba 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 ba. Ba 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 la la ba 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 da 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 ba 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 ba. Ba 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 ba. All right, hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Rob here at Smirking Gun Reviews, back with more old S.H.I.E.L.D. new reviews, where we look back at the older seasons of S.H.I.E.L.D. and take another look at them. For me, a lot of times here, these are the first time I've been seeing these episodes since they first aired. So we're on episode 15 of season 3. It's called Space Time. I want to thank everybody that's been watching these. I know this is a very niche thing and a very episodic thing, so like some episodes people watch more than others. But I'm committed to finishing this. We're going to probably see a bunch of these pop up over the next few weeks because we're talking about it on these reviews, all of season 3 in February. So I'm not sure if these are going to come out pre that or post that, but we're going to work on a bunch of these now because I know that they're kind of niche, but I need to catch up and I want to get this done actually before we do season 3 on these reviews. So we're talking about Space Time here, which is a very good episode. It's also like, it's a bunch of different kinds of episodes to me. This is the episode where they start to see what the new threat really is, what the threat behind Malick. We have that kind of episode. We have the heroes like entering the fray of this new journey, this new arc of the show, this last bit of the season that's starting to pay off the very beginning of the season with the whole thing with the ship and everything floating in it and who died. We get that like all start to really be set up here for the first time in the end of the season. Talk about paying off late, you know. We have the episode where the heroes kind of get their butts handed to them a little bit here. So this is all a lot of kind of good setup for what's going to come in the next like last 7 episodes after this. And we get some fun time travel stuff. And actually got to think about a few things about how I've thought about time lately. It's kind of weird that I'm watching this episode right as I've been thinking about how we perceive time. So let's get into it because, yeah, there's a lot of fun here. A lot of sweet moments. A lot of, like, we get another, like, long shot of Daisy fighting in this. But this has got to do with a inhuman. A homeless inhuman who can, by touch, show, like, a death. Whose death, you don't know. Now, I think it's all kind of funny because it's the way it's written. It's just always really fitting for that person. I don't know how it works, really. And they don't really explain how his power works, right? But the plot lets it so that anytime he touches somebody conveniently, they just go, oh, well, this guy needs to see this. That's what we're going to show him. Well, this guy shows this other guy here the future where he sees his own death. But we don't know that. That's what I like, is he's seeing it. This is where I die. And for me, my wheels started turning. Like, is he speaking through, like, is he seeing somebody else talk and him speaking their words or what? But no. What we have here is he calls, S.H.I.E.L.D., they hear about this. They go down there because they know this guy said Daisy's name. And he can give that, he sees the future, the homeless guy sees the future, and he can give that to somebody else. And they want answers from this guy who's like, I don't know, but this has all happened before. And then we get one of the most impressive network television action scenes I think I've ever really seen, and it's not long. But when Hydra comes in and May's like, it's Hydra, and they got their ship there, and they're firing rockets and guns, and this is all really, really well done, in my opinion, for like ABC on a, on the budget that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. had. This looks great. Even that, whenever they keep doing that with the nets coming down and taking people, they've just been able to figure out how to work all these really kind of complicated special effects on the budget, and it still works. It still looks great. But Hydra does get to the guy, and we do see that the guy's like, this is where I die, and that all comes into context because he literally gets shot the hell up. Now, right as this guy's leaving, Daisy reaches out, touches him, and she sees the events that are going to happen, and it's all out of context. And so, of course, we get the plot that is been in a lot of time travel stuff, which is how do we stop what we saw? And what I like is that Fitz is the one that's right off the bat, like, you can't change anything. If you saw the future, that's the future. Okay? If we don't see it, we don't know. And we get into this whole thing about perceived time and how we think we can like go back and forward and change things, right? But he talks about it being it just is. Time just is. It's just how we see it. And how they explain it is really cool. With the cube in 2 dimensions and 3 dimensions and how we view things. And that if we viewed things in 2 dimensions, it would be like this. And that everything has basically already happened. We just are perceiving it in the moment. And that freaked me out because I have been thinking about my mortality in these uncertain times. Because it's the 9th of January 2021. We just had traitors and treason and sedition happen a few days ago. So I'm thinking about things. I've decided to, unfortunately, on my vacation of all times, that this happens. Oh, poor you, right? And it's like, it was going to happen. It happened on my vacation. Get over it. But it has made me think about, like, the end, the beginning, all of it. Like, I've thought about this before, is like, I'm already dead. I just haven't experienced it. And that, if you let that kind of thing get in, I highly recommend don't let that kind of thought get into your head. Because then, people like me with curious minds and big imaginations can go pretty far with that kind of thinking, unfortunately. But the whole process is then them practicing to figure out how to, what she saw, put into context so that things happen the opposite way. And I really liked this. I thought these scenes were a lot of fun and good banter with the team and all of that. Doing it multiple times too, and not just being like, oh yeah, like a scene later where they're like, yeah, how many times did it take us to get it, just so they wouldn't have to show us. But then the plot gets involved, and that's the only thing that I didn't like, is that the plot then starts to steer you can't change anything, which is fine, but I was kind of hoping this time that there would be. We live in a Avengers Endgame, post-Endgame thing. So we know that things can be changed, but that creates new timelines. And since this show eventually ends up in that situation anyway, I think my brain is just more like attuned to, well, why can't we change things? We learn it later. Oh, we haven't figured out that we can do that and create new dimensions and blah, blah, blah. Our new presence. Just like they did in Endgame and they talk about. So I was a little irritated that when all of a sudden Andrew shows up, right? It's great. It's a great moment. It's a big moment. He just walks in saying, I'm about to change for the last time. I'm afraid. I'm going to be gone, and you're just going to be left with the other guy who I would rather have S.H.I.E.L.D. have, which is smart on Andrew's part, starting to come to terms with what he's done and what he can do about it now. But also saying that, there is a little bit of me in that thing, and it might not be doing what we think it's doing, and it might be doing things that on the outside are horrible. Killing people is horrible, but what if it's killing for a purpose? What if, And my first thought was, yeah, if it kills all the Inhumans, it kills are less people for Hive Ward to use later on in a final battle. But none of us understand that. None of it, and it's all kind of out of context. And it's also weird, like thinking about these ideas and how they set them up in the past or even in other seasons, so that it pays off now. And what that's kind of what's happening here. And it's also weird that I just finished watching part 2 of Red Letter Media's Twin Peaks: The Return video, where they're talking about how far in advance David Lynch would have to have planned the return, like the whole story, to do what he does. And it's really interesting that I'm watching all this stuff today, and because they discuss time having a design, like that there's a design for all of us, and what if all of this is designed? It's an actual good conversation between Lincoln and Coulson that takes place there. But all these things, I don't know. There's a lot to process about the time travel stuff. But he shows up, right? And that immediately goes, well, Coulson's like, well, May, you can't go on the mission. Because it's Andrew and you love him. And if you don't get to talk to him one last time before he changes, you'll never forgive yourself. And I was thinking to myself, bullshit. This is bullshit. And even May, all right? So then they immediately acknowledge that May would think this is bullshit. She's like, I don't care. I'm going to go do what I got to do. But then the script forces her to go, well, you know, when he's like, you're going to family and everything. And then if you argue about that, you'd say, well, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is a family. It's all about family. And of course, May would want to have those moments with Andrew. But not in the situation, to me, of a world-ending situation where some of their own, or not even world-ending, but like if some of their own could die because they decided to follow their heart, then that, to me, I've had problems with this before in anything where I can feel the script purposely driving something illogically away from the other direction from like what a character would choose, just for the sake of, well, we've got to get there, so tough shit, May, you're not going on the mission. You're going to care more about Andrew than potentially saving other lives. Potentially saving other lives isn't as important, it sounds, as to making sure that you have that one last moment with somebody else, even though that could lead to somebody else not having any moments with anybody else if they die. Like, one of my problems that I have. But again, it's not an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. thing. It's a script thing that I've always had a problem with, more so lately. And so it drives them to, like, Daisy has to go, and she, yes, of course, she does that mission that they were practicing, except she has powers. And again, seeing it all in one shot, this is the second time this year that they've done a one-shot action sequence with Daisy that just looks so fantastic. And Chloe Bennett, oh my gosh, man. Again, one of the reasons I'm so glad I'm doing this is because of how much more I appreciate Chloe Bennett the second time around. And not just that, but boy, she's something. she's not too hard to look at either. So she goes in, right? She takes everybody out, but everything basically happens the way it happens in her vision, except, like I said, it's all out of context. We don't know what really any of it means. So when she thinks Coulson's shooting her, it really isn't him shooting her. It's him shooting through the two-way mirror at a guy on the other side. And when, Fitz and Simmons are standing there holding hands, well, that was just Fitz and Simmons standing there holding hands. That had no other meaning other than it wasn't snowing. It was ash falling from the building, which leads them that she has to go to the roof, where in the vision, everything goes really bad. And it does again. Now, to talk about this part, we have to talk about Gideon Malick. And Gideon Malick having this conversation with Hive. We're going to start calling him Hive rather than Ward. It's going to be mixed up here, right? Because they know him as Ward. I know him as Hive now. But this conversation that Malick has, where the powerful man is finally showing himself. He's in Ward's body. He's full powered. It seems like, or just about. And they start having this conversation about, why did you bring me back? What do you get out of it? And when Malick starts explaining himself to him, and Hive starts, responding, it's quickly turning into this thing that Malick is like, uh-oh, what did I get myself into? Because this guy's asking questions that well, you have all this money. What do you need more money for? What kind of power are you looking for? And it does seem ominous, and it is, because this thing really doesn't give a shit about Malick, right? But at the same time, he's like, well, he's probably thinking, you brought me here. I need some help getting to where I need to go. I can't take you out now. So he's talking about giving him real power, not just power over people like with money and influence. But what if you actually had power, like powers, like abilities? And he gives him this outfit, this kind of device that he puts on, that unfortunately Daisy gets to see, where he's beating the shit out of her. And, I know Powers Booth, rest in peace, this must have been for him in the moment, like, kind of fun, right? To get to be, like, in the super suit a little bit and being powerful and getting to do it. And maybe he didn't. Maybe he thought it was stupid. Maybe he thought it was a paycheck. Or both. But I thought it was really cool that near the end of his life, he doesn't know it's near the end of his life, but it's cool looking back and watching Powers Booth near the end of his life get to be like a supervillain almost here. Fortunately, Charles though shows the death. He touches Malick, which puts him off, which gives Daisy a chance to push him off with the Quake powers, and he dies. But in this moment, or Charles is dying, right? And in this moment, they talk about the bird and the robin and the little wooden figure that he was keeping close to him and painting with like a burnt cork end. You find out about the daughter, which again, the mother and the daughter show up earlier because they're trying to find context about this man's life and whether or not he has a family. And this is where he talks about the fear for his daughter and that he might have passed this ability down to her. And that the reason that they left each other in the first place was because, anytime he touches somebody, they see the future. And so he didn't want to put his wife and his daughter through having to see constant scenes of, no context death, or possibly even their own deaths. And so now his final worry is that she could be, just like him, and that he wants S.H.I.E.L.D. to protect her, which Daisy, of course, agrees to. Now, there's a lot more in here that we've kind of skipped over, but the other part is they see Ward. I love that. It's like a second on the screen where all of a sudden he turns on the camera and there he is, and they're like, oh, and they're literally speechless. Literally speechless for a few seconds. It's just no sound in that room. And they're like, and it's like, yeah, it can't be him. It's not him. And even Fitz again, twice in this episode, it's like, yeah, I think we already know who that is, right? It's not Ward. It's the thing we left there, or we thought we left there. And so, also Daisy, when she finds that out, yeah, the day just got weirder. We're here to stop Grant Ward as well. It's like, what is happening? So by the end of this episode, she gets that final touch. She sees the space, the Quinjet in space and who died. And now they're going to be dealing with that whole mess for part of the end of the season. Now we also have Lash, of course. He doesn't show up here, but we have that conversation between Andrew and May. And, talking about saying goodbye. Fighting for a cause. One-way mirror, trying to think of anything else I might have missed here. I forgot Robin. I forgot about the little girl. I forgot how big of a part she plays in a lot of upcoming stuff. And then, basically we had a lot of good banter in this episode. And so without going any really further, there was a great, when he crushes the guy's head, to see real power. I guess that's another important part, is Malick's turn towards, taking life rather than having somebody else do it. But then by the end of it, when he fails, right, and they leave him there, he's now rethinking his situation. And it started with that conversation that him and that Hive had, which was, this guy's does not care about what we wanted to bring him back for. And that's something that they never really factored in. And now they're going to pay for it. And so that was Space Time. I know I probably didn't cover as much, but I'm going to leave that to everybody in the comments section to tell me all the things that you liked or what I missed. So if you like this review, please hit the like button, comment, share, subscribe, hit the bell for all notifications. Otherwise, we'll be back with episode 16 pretty soon. Actually, don't know, because I'm just recording all of these at once. So have a great one, and we'll see you on the next review. There should be some things popping up here. Subscribe over wherever. Watch these other videos if you feel like. Otherwise, have a great day, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye.